God List Part 2. Anu and Anatu have a numerous family. Among their sons are numbered Sarziri, the king of the desert, Litarak, Abgila, Kusu, and the air god, whose name is uncertain. The air god is usually called Vul. He has also the name Per, and the epithets Raman or Ruman, the self-existent, and Yuban or Ben. Vul is god of the region of the atmosphere, or space between the heaven and earth. He is the god of rain, of storms and whirlwind, of thunder and lightning, of floods and water courses. Vul was in high esteem in Syria and Arabia, where he bore the name of Dadi. In Armenia he was called Tzaba. Vul is always considered an active deity, and was extensively worshipped. Another important god, a son of Anu, was the god of fire. His name may be read Bil-Gan, with the possibility of some connection with the biblical Tubal-Cain and the classical Vulcan. The fire god takes an active part in the numerous historical tablets and legends, and he is considered to be the most potent deity in relation to witchcraft and spells generally. The most important of the daughters of Anu was named Ishtar. She was in some respects the equivalent of the classical Venus. Her worship was at first subordinate to that of Anu, and as she was goddess of love, while Anu was god of heaven, it is probable that the first intention in the history was only to represent love as heaven-born, but in time a more sensual view prevailed, and the worship of Ishtar became one of the darkest features in Babylonian history. As the worship of this goddess increased in favor, it gradually superseded that of Anu, until in time his temple, the house of heaven, came to be regarded as the temple of Venus. The planet Venus, as the evening star, was identified with the Ishtar of Erech, while the morning star was Anunit, goddess of Akkad. There were various other goddesses called Ishtar, among which may be noticed Ishtar, daughter of Sin the moon god, who is sometimes confounded with the daughter of Anu. A companion deity with Anu is He, who is god of the sea and of Hades, in fact of all the lower regions. He has two features, and corresponds in some respects to the Saturn or Kronos of the ancients, in others to their Poseidon or Neptune. He is called god of the lower region. He is lord of the sea or abyss. He is lord of generation and of all human beings. He bears the titles Lord of Wisdom, of Minds, and Treasures. He is Lord of Gifts, of Music, of Fishermen, and Sailors, and of Hades or Hell. It has been supposed that the serpent was one of his emblems, and that he was the Owens of Berossus. These things do not, however, appear in the inscriptions. The wife of He was Davkina, the Davk of Damasceus, who is the goddess of the lower regions, the consort of the deep, and their principal son was Merodach or Merodach, the Bel of later times. Merodach, god of Babylon, appears in all the earlier inscriptions as the agent of his father He. He goes about in the world collecting information, and receives commissions from his father to set right all that appears wrong. Merodach is an active agent in creation, but is always subordinate to his father He. In later times, after Babylon had been made the capital, Merodach, who was god of that city, was raised to the head of the pantheon. Merodach or Bel was identified with the Marduk of Babylon, but the name Bel, the Lord, was only given to him in times subsequent to the rise of Babylon. The wife of Merodach was Zirat-Banat, the Sukkah-Benoth of the Bible. Nebo, the god of knowledge and literature, who was worshipped at the neighboring city of Borsippa, was a favorite deity in later times, as was also his consort Tasmit. Beside Merodach he had a numerous progeny, his sons being principally river gods. A third great god was united with Anu and his names were Enu, Elu, Kapchu, and Bel. He was the original Bel of the Babylonian mythology, and was lord of the surface of the earth and the affairs of men. Elu was lord of the city of Nippur, and had a consort named Belat or Beldis. Elu, or Bel, is the most active of the gods in the general affairs of mankind, and was so generally worshipped in early times that he came to be regarded as the national divinity, and his temple at the city of Nippur was regarded as the type of all temples. The extensive worship of Bel, and the high honor in which he was held, seemed to point to a time when his city, Nippur, was the metropolis of the country. Belat, or Beldis, the wife of Bel, is a famous deity celebrated in all ages, but as the title Belat was only lady, or goddess, it was a common one for many goddesses, and the notices of Beldis probably refer to several different personages. The same remark may be applied to the name Ishtar, or Ishtar, meaning goddess, which is applied to any female divinity. Elu had, like the other gods, a numerous family. His eldest son was the moon god called Ur, Agu or Aku, Sin, and Itu, in later times generally termed Sin. Sin was presiding deity of the city of Ur, and early assumed an important place in their history. The moon god figures prominently in some early legends, and during the time the city of Ur was capital of the country his worship became very extensive and popular in the whole of the country. His symbol was the famous crescent moon. Ninip, god of hunting and war, was another celebrated son of Elu. He was worshipped with his father at Nippur. Ninip was also much worshipped in Assyria as well as Babylonia, his character as presiding genius of war and the chase making him a favorite deity with the warlike kings of Assur. Sin the moon god had a son Shamaz, or Samaz, the sun god, and a daughter, Ishtar, or Venus. Shamaz is an active deity in some of the Izdubar legends and fables, but he is generally subordinate to Sin. In the Babylonian system the moon takes precedence of the sun, and the Shamaz of Larsa was probably considered a different deity to Shamaz of Sippara. Among the other deities of the Babylonians may be counted Nergal, god of Kutha, who, like Ninip, presided over hunting and war, and Anunit, the deity of one city of Sippara, and of the city of Akkad. Nergal became the husband of the queen of the underworld known as Ikershigal. She was the queen of the Egyptian Amanti. I hope we didn't leave any god names out of this list.